Yeah. So here create unique index duplicate key font means that means same name it is already using. You can have one more name here. Duplicate keys font. When I am trying to use this, it is saying duplicate keys font. That means in this salary column we have the in the salary column we are having the duplicate value so that it is throwing the error. Okay. So salary column we are having the 3000 and 1250 are having duplicate so that any constant it won't accept on this column. So next we have the reverse key. Reverse key index. So before that we have one more index that is function based index. So that is function based index means when we create an index based on function, then we call it as a function based index. Syntax is so create index, index name and table name, function name and column name we have to function. So how will you use this function in the index? Example we have the create index id for underscore 25 a25 will give here I'll give. So create index id underscore a25 on emp underscore idx underscore 25 table with I'm using the function upper function of ename. Okay. So now the index is created here. So that means whenever this ename is smaller, automatically it will convert into uppercase here. So index will convert into uppercase and then it will, while scanning the table, it will fetch in this uppercase only. Okay. So reverse key means we'll use the create a table first for the reverse key. Test it. So create table st underscore reverse underscore 25 I'm saying here. Serial number, S name, marks. The table got created. So I'm going to insert in this records. Okay. So I'm going to insert into this table. So how many records inserted? Select start from table name. So 8 records got inserted. So now I'm going to insert into permanently using commit. So now I'm going to use this create index id 5 underscore 25 on xx stu underscore revision underscore 25 table on the marks column reverse. Okay, so index will be created. If you want, you can check this table on this. Open declaration window. So then you can see this information here. IDX 5_25 and the marks column. So indexes will directly, you cannot use in the any query, but you will create indexes in the real time on this table. So only thing why we use means to fetch the data faster. Okay. So next we have the bitmap index. So it is created and distinct values of a particular column. So bitmap index is created on a distinct values of a particular column. Generally, bitmap indexes are created on a low cardinality of the columns. When we create bitmap index, internally Oracle server is preparing bitmap index table with bit numbers are 1 and 0. So what is cardinality means? It refers to the uniqueness of the data values contained in a particular column table. Okay. How to find the cardinality of the column means you can have the some of the information like this. Cardinality of the column is equal to number of distinct values of a column by number of rows in a table. The cardinality of the column is equal to number of distinct values of a column by number of rows in a table. Distinct values means you can use the, if there is any duplicate or there, how will you separate it? Using the distinct keyword. Select a distinct employee number or select a distinct salary from the table. So like that you can use that distinct, but total number of rows in the table by total number of rows in the table. So bitmap index can be created using the create bitmap index name and table name, column name. So suppose if we are going to create in the department number, create bitmap index ID6 underscore 25 and ENP underscore ID6 underscore 25 of the department number. So it was created. So what is the advantage? So only to use the performance improvement. So bitmap index disadvantage also there. So when you use the bitmap index, there is some disadvantages that are index consumes a considerable amount of space. When you create index, so it will take some amount of space in the database. So DML performance might get impacted. So with the bitmap index, DML operations will take some time, so that it is a disadvantage. But when you use the select statement, you will get the faster data output. But when you use the DML operations, it will be slow. So all the indexes will be available in this base table, that is select star from user underscore indexes. Okay, so I have created underscore 25. So where index underscore name, like I can say percentage 25. So all the indexes created with this EMP underscore IDS underscore 25 table here if you see. ID1 underscore 25, ID2 underscore 25, ID4 underscore API are 25. All are created today. So date wise if you see here. So this is for the index information. So if we want to get the index column details, then we have the one more table, that is select from user underscore ind underscore columns. So this is the another table. For all the indexes, you can see user underscore indexes. For the indexed column information, so you can use the user underscore ind underscore columns. So if you see this index table on column, which column, thus the index is created. That information you will have in this column name. Suppose we have created index underscore name is equal to, suppose ID1 we have created ID1 underscore 25. Then the employee number column it is created. Same way ID 4 if you take ID4 APR 25. It was on the another column here. ID2 underscore 25. So it was on the job and salary column. So this is the composite index. So how can you say this composite index? Index name is same on the different columns here. So that not different, multiple columns. So we have the one more tables, that is select star from all underscore index columns. Here it is the user underscore index column. Here it is all underscore index columns. Okay, and the table name is underscore 25. So all the indexes on this table, you'll get the information here. So last one more, that is query. So how to find the table columns? Okay. So all the table columns, how to find? So you can use this query. That is select a count of column name from all underscore tab columns where table name is equals to MP and owner is equals to apps. Here it is giving the count here. If I want, you can select star from all underscore tab columns where table name is equals to MP and owner is equal to apps. So then you will get the all the column details here. Table name and this is the column names here. So all the 8 columns information here. And this is the data type here. So this is about the indexes. Next we have the next topic we have PL/SQL introduction. So this is the end of this SQL topics. So we'll start with the PL/SQL. So what is the disadvantage of the SQL? Anyone? సో మనకి అడ్వాంటేజ్ ఉన్నాయి ఎస్క్యూఎల్కి, డిసడ్వాంటేజ్ కూడా ఉన్నాయి అట్లాగే. ఓకే, సో డిసడ్వాంటేజ్ అంటే ఇట్ సపోర్ట్స్ టు ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ ఓన్లీ వన్ కమాండ్ ఎట్ ఏ టైమ్. It will not support block of statements. It will not support high level language features like variables, constants, conditional and loops. It will not support in the SQL. And also it will not support error handling. So it will not store on the code in the database. So SQL queries, it will not store on the code in the database. It will not support user-defined data types. So these are the disadvantages of the SQL. So that we are implemented PL/SQL. So PL/SQL stands for procedural language, which is an extension of the SQL. So SQL is a non-procedural language where PL SQL is a procedural language. In SQL query, every query statement is compiling and executing individually. So that number of compilations are increased and reduced performance of the database. In PL SQL, all the SQL queries are grouped into a single block and which will compile and execute only one time, so that it will reduce the number of compilations and improve the performance of the database. It is a procedural language which is used to define our own logics. So PL/SQL and PL SQL, we can define our own logics. It is used to execute block of statements at a time and increase the performance. Okay. So what is the features of PL/SQL means? It's supposed to execute a block of statements on one unit, supporting conditional and loop statements. It supports reusability, supports error handling using exceptions, supposed to define composite data types. Okay. So composite data types we cannot define in the SQL, only we can define in the PL SQL. Providing security, all programs are saved on a database and authorized users can access the programs. Supporting modular programming, that is in PL SQL, big programs can be divided into small modules which are called as stored procedures and stored functions. So can enhancement. So existing programs are enhanceable for future requirements. It improves the performance. So PL SQL is a block structure programming language which is having the SQL engine and PL SQL engine. In the PL SQL we have the two engines will be there. So that will be SQL engine and PL SQL engine. So in the SQL engine, all the SQL statements will be passed to this engine and it will execute and return to the PL SQL block. Same way, all the PL SQL code, it will be executed in the PL SQL engine and returns. Okay. So whenever we are submitting PL SQL block into Oracle server, then all the SQL statement queries are separated and executing by the SQL query executor within the SQL engine. Whereas PL SQL statements or code are separated and executing by PL SQL executor within the PL SQL engine. So that means code will be separated and it will be executed individually in this SQL and PL SQL engines. So that it will save time and its performance will be fast. So what is the block? You are saying there is a PL SQL block. So that means it is one of the area which is used to write programming logic. A block is a set of statements which are compiled and executed by Oracle as a single unit. So there we have two types of blocks. One is anonymous block and another is named block. Okay. So in the anonymous block means it does not have any name. These blocks are not stored in the database. It has no name and it cannot be called again. It contains three sections. Anonymous block contains three sections. That is declare section and executable section and exception section. Okay. So in the declare section, we have to define all the required variables. This block starts with the declare statement. It is one of the section which is used to declare variables, constant, cursors, and so on. So it is an optional section also. Declare is the optional. Next is executable section. This block starts with the begin and ends with the end. Okay. So in between we have to write our logic. whatever the logic or arithmetic operations, whatever it may be. So it will be within this begin and end. This is one of the section which is used to write the programming code. Okay. Implementing SQL statements and logical code of the programs. It is a mandatory section. Okay. So this is the mandatory section. And next is exception section. So it is one of the section which is used to handle the errors in the runtime. So whatever the errors are coming in the runtime, so if you are not using the exception, what will happen? Program will terminate there itself. So suppose in the execution time, if you get some errors, but you want to continue the execution, then you have to use the exception section. With the exception section, it will capture the errors in separate variables and error will be identified later. Okay. Using that exception section, but program will not be terminated. It will continue to execute when you use the exception section. Otherwise, if you are not using the exception section, what will happen? It will terminate the program whenever error comes. Okay, so this is also optional. Exception section also optional, but only mandatory section in the block is execution section, executable section. So how will you define the anonymous block here? So default syntax is declare variables, cursors, user defined exceptions, begin. Within this is the begin and end is the executable section. So within this executable section only you can use the exception section, but this is also optional. But begin and end is the mandatory. So in the begin we will write the executable statements, writing SQL statements, PLSQL, logical code, everything you will write in this between this begin and end only. So here the declare section is optional, begin is mandatory, begin and end is the mandatory, and exception also optional. So coming to named blocks, these are the names. These blocks are stored in the database. So anonymous blocks will not be stored in the database, whereas named blocks, so named blocks means it will come under the procedures, functions, packages, triggers. This will be stored in the database. So you can reuse these procedures, functions, packages, triggers whenever you want. But anonymous block you cannot reuse until unless you save in the some file or somewhere in the notes. So you can save this to execute. If you want anytime if you want to execute, you can save in some text files. This query in some files you have to save it. Otherwise, it will not store in the database. But whereas procedures, functions, packages, triggers, this will permanently store in the database. You can call them anytime. You can use them in any package or procedures. So variables. What is the variable? It is one of the memory location which is used to store the data. Generally, we are declaring the variables in declare section of the PL SQL block. These are supported, default and not null. So how will you define the variable in the PL SQL is declare in the declare section. In the anonymous block, we have to define under the declare section. Under named blocks, directly you can define the within this declare section of this named blocks. So if you are using the anonymous block, you have to define in this anonymous block under declare section variable name, data type, size. And suppose you are mentioning the variable name A. So that is number data type if you say. So then you have to mention like this. The number 20. C varchar 2 30 D data type I mentioned. So whenever in the SQL, when we are creating the tables, we are using the column names. So, but in the PL SQL, this is the variable here. Okay, this is the variable and this is the data type and size we have to mention. And after each variable ending, we have to use this semicolon. Okay, so the semicolon is must if you use in the PL SQL block. You have to use every statement and you have to use this semicolon. Okay, next in this we have the assignment operator. So assignment operator means we have to use colon equals to. So this is called as the assignment operator. That means we are storing the value into this variable. It is declared in the either declare section or executable section. So suppose we were we want to assign some value to the variable, then we have to use this assignment operator. So syntax is variable name colon assignment operator value you have to provide like. Okay. So that can be either you can provide in the declare section or in the executable section also. Suppose if you are providing in the declare section, then you have to use like this a value some 5 and b value some 10. Like this you have to use. This is called as a assignment operator. Colon equals to means assignment operator. Suppose only giving the equal operator. That means this is for the condition validation only. It will be used. So suppose if I want to assign some variable a assignment operator 50. Okay, and we have the variable c defined as a character data type, so that I can assign c colon is equals to Venkat. Like this you can assign the variables. Okay, so we'll continue with this field SQL induction tomorrow, introduction tomorrow also. Okay, as now time is 6 minutes.
What is meant by a colon equal to 50, sir?
So this is the variable. Okay, so in the field SQL we have to use the variables. So whenever we are using the variable to assign some value to that variable, you are using this colon equals to. Okay, colon equals to means this value is assigned in this variable. Same way in the variable C, we are assigning Venkat name. So this can be used in the program coding and you can print these values later. If you want, you can print or you can, if you want to do some arithmetic operation, suppose I am giving B value also here like this, B value into B value is 3. Suppose I want to do some arithmetic operations, then simply I can use A plus B. Okay, I will take some other variable here like this E number data type only. So then I will assign this A plus B value into E value, E variable I want to assign. Then I can use like this E assignment operator A plus B. Then what it will be 50 plus 3, it will assign into this E variable. Or if you want to do arithmetic operation multiplication, then A into B. 50 into 3, 150 will be assigned into this variable. Okay, in the real time, if you want some assign some values to the variable, then you have to use this operator that is called as a colon equals to this operator you have to use, and value will be assigned to this variable. Okay, in the SQL we have the columns. In PL SQL we have the variables here. Okay, so in the column we have the data. In the PL SQL, that column data you can use it. Along with that, if you want, you can use the extra variables to or as per our requirement of the programs. So in the next classes, we will understand how it is going to use this assignment operator, why we are assigning this. So in the next classes, you can understand better. So for that, some of the extra information you need to understand. After that, you will be able to understand this one. Okay. So there is some package called dbms output.put_line. Using that, you can print these values. So this is the package.procedure name. This is the package dbms underscore output is a package, and in that put underscore line is a one procedure. Using this, you can print these values. Okay. So in the PL SQL, what we are doing? Simply select statement we are applying. Select star from table name we are giving. Okay. So this is getting into here. Information is printing here. But in the PL SQL, you have to use the dbms output here. So this dbms output, you have to use it. In this, you will get the information. Whatever the we are printing, that will be printed in this dbms output window. Okay. For that, initially you have to use this. Suppose if it is not there, so dbms output is not there, then you have to go to here, view, use this dbms output, then it will be displayed here. So then you have to click on this plus symbol and you have to connect to the instance. That schema you are using, for that schema you have to connect, then it will be displayed here. So this I will explain tomorrow. Okay. Any other doubts on this? Okay, stop it.